What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, Rep 361 Texas. Today I'm going to be showing you how to change your ABS or wheel speed sensor on the front of your let's say 4th gen Ram 1500. This is going to kind of go for a lot of the Ram trucks, not just the 1500s. It would probably work for the 25 the 3500s. Probably be pretty similar for the 4-wheel drives as well. This one's a 2-wheel drive. Anyway, this is the Moist Ram. If y'all haven't seen it, it's kind of like the main character of the channel. Right now, it's up on a jack because I have it on the slicks. But I'm gonna go ahead and get these things aired back up, get the truck dropped down, and then we'll get started on pulling that wheel off, and I'll show you how to change the wheel speed sensor. One more thing before I do that, let's get a cold start. Alright guys, tools you're going to need to replace your ABS sensor. You're going to need a ratchet, 3/8 drive ratchet. I used a power ratchet and this combination of that kind of speeds it up. You got a flathead screwdriver. It's going to be for prying on clips like these and for prying the caliper back in. You need a 5, you don't need any of these. You need a 5mm Allen head wrench for the bolt that holds that sensor into place. You need a 21mm, a 13mm. I used a 2.5 pound, roughly 3 pound persuasion device, and that is it. It is very simple. It didn't take us but about 15 minutes. It took more time to film it than it did to actually do it. So I hope you enjoy this video. Please make sure to like the video for me. A lot of effort went into it. And we'll catch you in the next scene. The ABS sensor, when it starts going bad, you're gonna have issues like when you hit the brake pedal, it may kick back on you because the ABS is freaking out because it's not getting a signal from that sensor. But that's not the only thing you may see. Most people just see the general ABS light on and stuff like that. And that light used to scare me back in the day because whenever the ABS light would come on, there was no actual way to read how that ABS light came on, what told that light to come on, what faulted to make that light come on. If you're having an ABS light come on and go off, come on and go off, you don't have to catch it while it's on to figure out what it is. Take it down to your local dealership. Their code readers will pick up the logs from that light coming on, and they will be able to tell you what caused that light to go on. Airbag lights are the same way now. That's how you diagnose what's going on with your ABS system. We're gonna get this wheel popped off. I know y'all are here for an instructional video, so here we go.
I got the cash in the bag, stadium packed. Born a rock star in this life, gone live it up on the attack. Baby, I'm bad. I just wanna get caught up in this life. I'm crazy, I'm mad. Doing no cap. Only God wants, so you better go live it up. Cash in the bag, stadium packed. Baby, I'm bad.
I am not a professional by any means, but I am kind of your average Joe with mechanical knowledge. So, if you have jack stands, once you get the vehicle up, that'll help. But before you get that vehicle up, you want to bust the lug nuts, is what they call it. Don't quote me on that. They're just busted nuts. I don't know. But you're going to take and you're going to loosen the lug nuts while the tire is still on the ground. So the wheel's going to try to turn on you like that the whole time you're trying to leverage these guys off. But yeah, guys, make sure you bust the lug nuts before you pick the vehicle up off the ground. It's going to make your job a little bit easier, and you won't be fighting it so much. We're most likely going to have to pull the brake caliper and brake rotor off, which don't get scared. It's not that hard. It's only a couple bolts to get the caliper off, and the rotor will pop off afterwards. Unless you've never changed your rotors, which is highly likely. And I'll explain that once we get to that. But anyway, let me get these lug nuts off, get this tire off, and we'll get on to the brake rotor. Anyway. You know what? This doubles as a chair. Also, once you get your wheel off, if you want to sit it right here, doubles as a chair. You can sit there and get personal with your Ram. So your ABS sensor wire is right here, and it runs around behind the spindle, and it comes in underneath that caliper, and it's going to be sensing the hub. This is your hub area, this is your rotor, this is your caliper. So what we need to do is remove this caliper and bracket in order to get this rotor off to get to that ABS sensor. So right now the ABS sensor is completely covered by the dust cover and all that stuff. So we need access into there. And the caliper nut on the Ram 1500 is a 13mm. I don't know if you can see that, but we need to pull the caliper nuts off, or bolts off rather, and then we can pull the caliper off. And then once we get that caliper off, we still need to get the rotor off, and it's captured by the bracket, this bracket right here on the caliper. We need a 21 millimeter to pull that bracket off. And that's on the Ram 1500. This one's a 2017, so I know year make, it's gonna make a little bit of a difference, but the same general theory for the Ram trucks, okay? So I may not have it right on, I already know that. Just don't bash me in the comments. This tool right here is one of my favorite tools. I mean, it makes life so easy because you can just, and it doesn't seem that fast, right? It doesn't seem to just rip them off, but compared to a hand ratchet or a wrench, this thing right here makes life easy. All I gotta do is throw a battery on the charger, it's ready to go. I actually have 2 batteries for mine, so yeah, it just, to me, lifesaver. Okay, so I got those 2 bolts out. You saw how I did that. Sometimes you'll see this guy, it just freely spins, so you may have to take I think a 15 millimeter on that and hold back up on this so it doesn't spin with your bolt. But I didn't have to. They're still free, so I'm not really worried about them being seized up, but they didn't spin. So anyway, let's get this caliper off. To pry on the calipers, you'll see these windows right here. I know I don't have the best of lighting. You see this rubber part? You do not want to stab that with a screwdriver. What I'm doing, you do not want to do that. What you want to do, there's a piston right here, and you want to take and pry in that window just a little bit. And this is a dual caliper, so you may play the game where you're chasing it back and forth, because here's one piston and here's the other piston. That's why I call it dual. And you're just going to pry those in a little bit at a time, and then voila, she comes off. All right, so we're going to hang this up over here on the upper control arm, just like so. Look at that, it's like it's meant for it. This truck's filthy, it's a daily use truck. I know it looks like a full-on race truck, and yes, it is time for brake pads. So Power Stop will be getting a call from me. These ones have done me really well. These probably have about 80,000 on them. So let's set those off to the side. Keep in mind which way you pulled your brake pads off in. It's real easy to tell. You got these clips and things, be very mindful of those. To put those back on, you're gonna need them, so the way they come off is the way they go back on. But let's pop this caliper bracket off. I don't know if y'all caught any of that, but I did have to put like a hammer on my ratchet and kind of beat it into submission. Not a big deal. I didn't put it on this ratchet, I put it on that ratchet. There goes one. Look at that, practically fell off. Now, one thing yours won't do is this thing's not just gonna pop off. You'll have these little clips that look like flattened crowns that go on these studs that pinch this rotor into place just to kind of keep it on there for whenever you're pulling stuff apart. They are not as important as one might think, because once you put the wheel on, the brake rotor and all that stuff, and you put the caliper back on, all that stuff holds this guy in place. It's not like it's gonna take off on you and leave you at the house and go out shopping at the mall and then go pick up some milk and then never come back. And anyway, so yeah, that's what that's about. You pull that off, voila, we have made it to the ABS sensor. I know I was a little brutal with that guy, I just kind of rolled it and it fell. But we have made it to the ABS sensor. So now all we need to do is pull that one Allen head bolt out, and that guy will come off. We do have some clips and things to undo, but we'll get to that part. But let's go ahead and pop this out. But before you go any further, what you need to do is check the part that you picked up from the dealership. So the part number for the wheel speed sensor on the driver front of my 2017 Ram 1500 two-wheel drive Hemi truck is, I don't know, 68170065 as fuck. AF. Anyway, it's made in Mexico, so it's going to be raced in Mexico, so this is going to work out great. Ding, 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 ding. Yep, old-fashioned Allen heads. That Craftsman set's really put in some work. I put in my entire cam with that set. I didn't need a couple of specialty tools on top of it. That set did it. All right, that's not it. That might be it. And that's acting like she's gonna go. A little bit of rust on her. Yeah, that's gonna be it there. Gonna have to give it a little persuasion to put it in. 5mm, so you're looking for a 5mm Allen wrench. Let me double verify that. Yeah. Oh yeah, it is. Hey, I'm gonna tell y'all with Allen heads, you wanna make sure you get the right size off the bat. Oh boy. Yeah, because you saw how tight that was. If it was the wrong size, I would have stripped that head out. We would have been up crap creek. There we go. Now here comes our old ABS sensor bolt. There she is. And now the ABS sensor has a little rubber grommet on it, but you should still be able to wiggle it out fairly easily, just like so. You want to make sure you have the right size Allen key, because if you strip that bolt, then ultimately you're going to run into bigger issues. So make sure you have a tight fitment. I had to beat mine in with a small hammer because it was rusted up. You can see it's got a little bit of rust on it. We live in South Texas, so the air is full of salt, so it's salty out here. But anyway, I got the sensor out. The sensor is held in there by a rubber grommet, so you have to kind of wiggle it. Not a big deal. We're going to trace it back past the spindle, or you know what, I ain't even gotta do that. They got clips. These little clips are tricky. I wish I could explain them, but I really am not the best at explaining tricky stuff. I live by the KISS standard of things. Any of y'all in the industrial field know what KISS stands for. It means keep it simple, stupid. So yeah, we're gonna let this guy dangle. That's illegal in the ASE technician world, but we're not an ASE technicians, we're YouTubers. There we go. And there's our plug. The plug has a little red locking tab. All right, I got two hands in use, so I'm gonna pop that locking tab real quick, so give me a second. To pop that locking tab, what I'm going to do is I'm gonna take that same flathead screwdriver. There we go. And then once you do that, there's a little tab right here you depress. You gotta do some wiggle motion. Anyway, you gotta do some wiggle motion and boom. Look at that. We have an entire ABS sensor all the way up. So it wasn't too hard, didn't take too long. Let's pop this new one in, we'll get it going. Make sure it's the same prong as your old one. This is stuff you just do whenever you end up getting wrong parts from other automotive places, but the plugs are the same. Everything looks good to go. So we're gonna stick it right back up in there where she came from, or so help me.
Yeah, put that thing back where it came from, or so help me. So help me, and cut.
So we did that, that's all good to go. Now, we gotta clip all this stuff back in, stick our sensor back in, and we can slap this guy back together. Not too bad. I think in total, probably a 15-minute job. I'm gonna save these because the ones on my truck are good. So just make sure you route that sensor back up into the factory ones like so. And they clip in. I know it's hard to see, and boom, you're good. So we're gonna route this one the same way the original went, just like that. This one goes here on the brake caliper wire, on the brake caliper cable, just like so. This one's gonna clip in here. Let me pull this OE equipment clip off of the actual line. Like I said, I'm gonna save these. You're staring at the side of my stock manifolds right now, which a lot of people don't think this truck is still on stock manifolds. All right, so that's what those clips look like that I'm dealing with. Focus, it's, all right, that's about as good. You can see it's like a double Z right there. What you can do is right here where my thumbnail is, you can put a screwdriver in there and just twist, give it a little twist, and it's gonna pop these apart. Or what I like to do on the older ones is you can take and push them side to side like that until they unhook, which is really hard to do with one hand, but I'm gonna pop it back off with a screwdriver real quick for you guys. All right, so this is a brand new clip, right? You take that screwdriver in there and stab yourself in the hand, and you just go up, and there it is. See? Not too bad. Going back with them is super simple. You lay a rubber grommet into the clip and you just push it, make sure it's secured. That's it, we're good to go. Now we're gonna loop our sensor back behind the caliper, stick it through the dust cover for the brakes, And at this point, we're just gonna set it right there because we have some lube that we need to put on it. So being that that has all those metal parts, you're gonna squeeze this stuff into that hole and keep it lubricated. It's basically what it is. It's gonna keep that, you can see the tabs in there now. See all the little tabs? I don't know if you can or can't, but they're passing by. Those are all the little tabs. That sensor's picking those tabs up and it's telling, now there's something in there, I hear it. You can hear it. But I'm not going to worry about it too much. It's been doing great. But yes, so your OE stuff comes with this. You want to squeeze this lubricant into that hole and it's going to keep that stuff nice and greasy. So let me do that real quick. I'm not going to be able to hold the camera for that, so hang on. Now at this point, you need to stick your new wheel speed sensor into that hole. Boom. And go ahead and tighten it down with the supplied bolt that it came with. Allen head number 5. And we'll go ahead and stick this greasy guy in there because I don't mind having a little grease in that Allen head. See how easy it fit now that it's not rusted? I didn't have to beat it in there like the last one. And tighten it down until it's snug. Spike lug nut for the win. A little bit of leverage. And you can see it. Boom. That's about as tight as we want it. I'm gonna give it a little extra. It's about 10 foot-pounds or 25, somewhere in there. Now that we've made it to this part, we've checked everything to make sure it's all plugged back in and routed the way it originally should have been. We're gonna go ahead and put our caliper bracket back on, put our caliper and brake pads back in, and then we'll be almost good to go. Before we put that bracket on, guys, this happens to me a lot, I don't know why. First you put your rotor on. You put that bracket on without putting this on first, you've successfully blocked yourself from getting this on. So put that guy back on, same order it came apart, put it back together. That's a real easy way to do mechanic work. I got our rotor back in place. I got our caliper bracket back on. The torque spec, I'm not going to tell you what the torque spec is on any of this stuff because you need to look that up for your make and model. Okay, this is a general on how to replace the ABS sensor. We have replaced that. I will say my torque spec is hand tight and then roughly 5 earth pounds. So yeah, that's not coming apart, but that's for these bolts. I wouldn't put 5 earth pounds on these. I would probably just put a couple of smack pounds on these. But yeah, that's, like I said, you do you, I do me. It works for me, may not work for you. Whisper gently as you put this back into place and drop the clip. Dink. Come on, guy. Get your butt in there. There we go. All right, there we go. There we go. These little clips are mighty important what they're doing. I don't know if you saw that, but they return the caliper off the rotor. If you don't have those, the pad, they return the pad off of the rotor. If you don't have those, the pad will drag on the rotor. And that's where some people get that squeaking from. They also get it from the tabs that are letting you know that the brake pads are wore down. That's in another video. Obviously, we're almost to that point. So, there we go. All right, all we got left is the caliper. Put the caliper back on her. This is really hard to do while holding a camera. I don't know why I still hold a camera. I really need to throw it on a tripod. It's basics, guys, basics. All right, let me set this thing down. All right, caliper's on. We're gonna throw our bolts back in there and snug them down. Like I said, check your torque specs. For those of y'all that aren't very mechanically savvy, it's very good to know your torque specs. I have a pretty good feel of what's tight, what's not, what's over tightened. I say that because I literally put this entire motor together without torque specs. The only thing I did was the head bolts with torque specs. If you know what head bolts are, I don't know, but there we are. There it is. We got our caliper on. We've got our caliper bracket back on. Now it's time to put the wheel. We got our ABS sensor in, that's tight. We got it plugged in here. We got everything routed, nice and pretty. So yeah, next step is to put the wheel back on.
Get caught up in this life, I'm crazy, I'm mad, do it no cap. Only God wants you, better go live it up, cash in the bag. Baby, I'm bad, baby, I'm bad, baby, I'm bad.
Alright guys, so I don't know if you saw that, but the proper method to tightening your lug nuts is cross pattern. This one is a 5 lug, so you do tri pattern. So you start here, do these two, just make them snug. Don't have to tighten the crap out of them, right? And you come to this one and you do these two, right? Don't have to tighten the crap out of them. Then when you move to the next one, go ahead and start putting some stuff on them. If you have a torque wrench and want to torque it to spec, that's fine. Tight as possible is what I usually do. So boom, boom, boom. And you move this one, boom, 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 and just triangular pattern. What that's going to do is make sure that wheel sets on the hub properly. These we really don't have a problem with because they're machined to fit this truck, so they go on pretty good. You just kind of make them hand tight, bump them. You can set the vehicle down, right? Because we were talking about how the wheel wants to spin, and then you go ahead and you finish off your job. So that'll be it. Once we get these lug nuts tightened down, that's it. So wasn't too bad doing a wheel speed sensor, I will say. Not really any specialty tools, and you're good to go. So the ABS sensor is not that hard to do, and you can do it yourself at home. So anyway guys, I'm gonna finish this up. If you did learn anything from this video other than some new cuss words, please hit the like button, make sure to subscribe, and take it easy guys. Check into the channel for more details about the Ram 1500 here, and we'll catch you next time guys. Rep 361 Texas, we're out.